a lot of anxiety. The only thing I know for sure is I know what it was like to live in restricting myself so much, and I can't go back there. Like, I can't, like...
You don't want to go back there.
I don't want to go back. I'm drained. I'm tired. Even though I don't want to blow up, I want more not to go back there.
Yeah, you don't want to do it anymore. You're done. You quit.
Yeah, I've been through the wash machine. I'm running.
You did it enough. You did it enough. You know it doesn't go anywhere. You know exactly what you get out of it. You don't get anything better than that. And so you're over it.
So I got up today, and I got up early, and I'm cleaning out my freezers, and I'm listening to my audios and stuff, and then I take my shower, and I'm going to get dressed. So it's cold out here, so I go to put a sweatshirt on and a pair of jeans, and my jeans, they don't go up my legs.
Yeah. So
I go get another pair. I go get a bigger pair.
Yeah.
And I'm walking around them, and I'm uncomfortable, and I'm, oh my God, what am I doing to myself? So I just thought, you know what, Ange? This is part of the process. Like,
yeah, I told you this was going to happen, and maybe you should just go get some. What would you tell? Like, if this was your daughter going through eating disorder recovery?
Well, and she's doing it with me. Like, she's
okay. So your answer would be that you would take her to go get new clothes. You want her to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the clothes that don't fit are anorexia clothes. They shouldn't be your baseline clothes. Those are anorexia clothes.
Right. Okay. So being uncomfortable in my jeans, I was like, oh, I think they're so tight I can't wear them. So I just went and put a pair of sweatpants on. I thought, I'm not going to make myself crazy. Did
you feel bad at all in any way? Did you feel bad about it?
No, I just knew I hated being uncomfortable in them. I kept trying to put them up. And it's like, yes, my ass is bigger, but that's okay. Like, whatever. It is what it is. So I went and changed my pants. And
so compare that. Hold on a second. I want you to compare that to dieting, and which one is worse? Changing pants, putting on more comfortable pants or less uncomfortable pants, or going back into dieting. Which one's worse?
At that point, they're both terrible.
Okay, now let's get real.
Okay, well, maybe it's easier.
Yeah, I know. I mean, let's bring the mature person out. Like, if you were to tell the truth, you and I both know they're not equal. That was such a fucked up answer. You know as well as I do, they are nowhere close. Nowhere close. Putting on a pair of pants and making sure they're comfortable compared to having to restrict and diet and be obsessive compulsive. Totally different worlds. They're not even comparable. Being insane is 10 times worse than changing your pants.
Yeah, and the only reason I agree with that is because even when I was insanely at my prime weight, it wasn't good enough for me.
Okay, you should agree with it only because you know it's true. You don't need some reason to agree. You agree because it's true. It's horrible. Horrible. You would never wish your mental illness on your worst enemies.
Yeah, you're right.
Compared to changing your pants? Are you fucking kidding me? You just told me those were equal.
Yeah, you're right.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're right.
Tell yourself the truth. Stop lying to yourself.
So but this is what really bugs me. I had my breakfast, and I live on peanut butter. Like, I frickin' can't get enough peanut butter.
Well, you starved yourself of it for a while. That's understandable.
Right, so I get into peanut butter, and I make myself a peanut butter sandwich, and then I'm actually, honestly, there's not one part of the hunger scale that I'm following. All I'm following is I'm freaking eating it. I'm not binging, but I'm eating.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good. That's good news. Good for you. That's an improvement right there. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Really?
Yeah, you're not binging. That's huge.
Yeah, no, I'm not binging. I'm not binging. But
that right there tells me so much. That's improved already. So much is already improved. That's a big deal. Binging, based on what people have probably told you, what you used to think, is that you were addicted. What does this tell you? You're not binging anymore.
Yeah, no, I don't believe in food addiction anymore.
You're not an addict. That's massive. That's a big deal right there.
Okay,
so congrats. You're doing great.
Okay, I had my breakfast, and lunchtime, I made my daughter's birthday cake, and I was freezing it and stuff, and making it, and I didn't pick at any of it. I maybe had a handful of nuts, and I wasn't hungry. I actually felt really grossly full today. But then dinner time came around 4:30, 5 o'clock. I was getting hungry. I had nothing made, so I grabbed a granola bar.
Were you hungry?
Yeah, I was getting hungry.
Okay, so you are following hunger, so you were waiting till you're hungry.
Yeah, at that point I was. But I probably waited too long, maybe. I don't know. I feel so full, my stomach feels so big that I just feel stuffed.
Well, you might be. You might be overeating. You need to figure that out. The problem that I'm getting is you're so emotional about it. You're catastrophizing it. And that's what I'm diminishing right now. Notice how everything you're saying, I'm rejecting all of it because you're so catastrophizing everything. It was a terrible day. I just feel horrible. And just the whole changing my pants is equal to mental illness. You're catastrophized everything, right?
Yeah. Because in my mind, that's how I see it.
Yeah. How do you like that?
No, I don't.
Oh. Okay, well then stop. Is it really that bad?
No.
I know, it's really not. I have a girlfriend. Compare the physical discomfort of overeating, okay, which is real, to nausea.
Oh, yeah. No comparison.
No shit. So why are you treating it like it's horrible? Something has to change right now.
But I did kind of lose control at dinner because I had...
Well, I'm not surprised. So this tells... I just want you to know that to me is like, well, no shit. You've catastrophized everything. Of course you're going to be overeating. That to me isn't... Look at how shitty your attitude has been about your weight. I mean, your position around your jeans and how tight they were and having to put on sweats. I mean, just how you communicated it to me tells me a lot about your feelings about it.
Okay.
So you're trying to convince yourself that you're okay with it, but and I know you're not. So I wrote in here when you first started, she's done dieting, but she's not done with thin supremacy.
Okay. Right. Meaning thin supremacy is how we look. And
you still want it. You still crave it. You still desire it. You don't want anything to change. But you don't want the suffering that goes with it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Doesn't work that way.
You might want to get over yourself. You can't get your thin supremacy and narcissism and the narcissistic euphoria of thinnerness and freedom from the consequences that come with it. You can't. It's impossible. You have to surrender the thinnerness willfully. And that's where you're struggling right now. It's not willful. You're not willfully doing it. You're pissed about it. That victim positionality is probably where the terribleness comes from. And that's where you're feeling so off with the hunger scale. So I see this a lot. So where someone is like, they're hopeful, they believe in it. Okay, there's a belief in what you're doing. I know you believe in it, but that's different than actually willfully accepting the weight gain as it's occurring. Right? So as it's occurring, it's bringing up what I would assume is withdrawals. You're getting withdrawal to the weight gain. And it's creating this, more than likely, a sense of irritability and agitation. And what you might be doing, I say might, because I might be wrong. What you might be doing is, as you're feeling agitated about your bigger butt and the jeans are not fitting, and now I have to put on some sweats, and you're not okay with it. You're not okay with it. Okay? That's why you said that the two were equal. It's just as bad, the having to change pant sizes to the mental illness. That's why you said that. Okay? You're not okay with it. And so that internal agonizing that's going on is projecting into the hunger scale. And chances are you're full of anxiety about it. And that anxiety it's almost impossible to get a sense of what hunger feels like. The hunger scale and eating to hunger is really only appropriate for people who are relaxed about it. It doesn't work for people who are full of anxiety about it and are pissed off about weight gain. I've seen this so many times. I'm writing about it in my book. This is so predictable, right? The more someone is emotionally attached to thinnerness, the more anxiety they have eating to hunger, because they're afraid or they are apprehensive about the weight gain that could happen when they stopped controlling and restricting their food. My assumption here is that you're giving yourself freedom, but you still think you're doing something wrong. Oh, I overate. I'm doing this. So you're feeling bad about it, and at the same time, you're feeling that weight gain.
Actually, until today, I haven't felt bad about it because I've been doing a ton of baking, and I haven't been overeating. I mean, I had 2 cookies yesterday. Big deal. I didn't have 22 cookies. I actually feel excited about this because I'm doing things I haven't done in a long time, and I'm enjoying company, and I feel more alive that way.
Okay, good.
I don't like the stuff eating, I feel.
Then why are you eating till you're stuffed?
But I don't feel like I'm eating till I'm stuffed.
But
like
you feel stuffed. Yeah, but you feel stuffed, so you're
like and part you went through my head today or yesterday. I'm thinking, well, why didn't Robin? She started this. She didn't feel stuffed in the beginning, and she didn't gain weight. She didn't feel puffy.
I didn't. You have to keep in mind that I literally willfully accepted up to 500 pounds. It was 100%. I'm positive you're not there. So stop comparing yourself to me. You're just not there. It's not a good comparison. The people who are there, they have a similar response. You're just not there. You're holding yourself to this 100% recovery space when you're not there yet. Notice I used yet.
Yeah.
You're in the process of it. So you can't hold yourself to that and want those things.
I kind of felt like you a little bit when I just woke up to one day, for me to not get on the scale and me to throw every measuring utensil out of my house, and for me to just, I have not had any good food, bad food. I've been eating whatever the hell I want, not taking it to a binge, and being okay with, like, I've never in my life, like in 15 years, gone this long without going on a scale or asking somebody a million times if I look okay, or being body paranoid, or am I scared? Yes.
Okay, that right there.
I've exhausted all energy. I've accepted the fact that
you're scared means that you're doing something you don't want to do or don't feel like you can handle. That's what scared is. That's what fear is. That's what stress is.
Did you ever feel anxious? You never felt anxious or scared?
I did before I made the choice.
Yeah, and I feel like there's not even a choice because...
there is. I know we talked about this last session, and you're not seeing it is a total choice. 100%. You don't have a choice. You do have a choice. You could choose to go back to dieting at any point.
Right.
Yes, it's a choice. You can still choose to do something about it. You can choose the next thing. You can choose to go exercise. You can choose to stop eating peanut butter. You have choices all over the place. It's a choice. You're choosing to stop doing all that shit. You don't want to do it. It's your choice. You do not want to do it. Go back to 14 minutes ago when we started this. That's why I reiterated, you don't want to do it. It's not a choice. You don't want to diet anymore. That's a choice. You're not being forced. So that's important for you to see. This is not, you don't have to do this. You're not being pushed to do it. You are willfully doing it.
I was, through the years and the last 6 months, just getting totally burnt out with it. And I'm done. I am fried.
You quit.
I quit.
Okay, so you're not, so that's a choice. There's
nothing I can do if I gain weight or not.
But you have to accept it. You have to accept it. So that's where I think you're struggling. That would be my guess. Like if I were to have to write like a final at a university and you're my case study, I'd be like, she is struggling with willfully accepting what she has to accept. She's really struggling with the actual witness and experience of the gain. She was good with it in her mind, but she also in her mind thought, I won't gain weight if I'm eating at hunger. I won't gain weight if I'm not binging anymore.
Yeah.
So you're not even looking at that as that's what you gambled with. That's what you're holding on to. And you can't afford to do that because what you're experiencing right now is what happens when you do that. Is you feel agitation as you're gaining weight because you never really accepted it fully in the first place. This is why I go with such a direct route of recovery to direct accept weight gain. I don't fuck around with everything around it. Go right into the worst case scenario. If you can do that, all of this anxiety and bullshit that's going on, that's consequential to that.
So then why didn't I, and this is why I think I am accepting it to a certain degree, when my pants were tight or I'm feeling uncomfortable and I'm feeling yucky, I'm not saying, okay, I'm going to go for a run then, or I'm going to not eat till this time, or I'm going to restrict. Not even once, honestly, did any of that go through my mind.
That does not mean that you have accepted what's going on. So remember when I said there's so many good things that are happening here? So many good things. I don't want to discount all that. Okay? I'm not catastrophizing this. You're the one who's catastrophizing it.
Right? What can I think I'm embracing it somewhat.
You are. You are. It's not all or nothing. You are somewhat. That's why you're in the somewhat of recovery.
Okay, so how would I totally recover accepting weight?
You have to totally accept you're going to gain fat. 100%.
Okay, yeah, it's happening.
Well, that doesn't mean you're accepting it. You have to accept everything about it, too. Everything about it. You have to... The thing is this, too. I knew for me, up until this point, up into this conversation, I guarantee you were not happy about having to put sweats on. You were somewhat feeling bad about it. And it's been projected into your food today. So you've been overeating. That is what I see 100% of the time. 100%. Okay, so you overate today. You weren't honest about eating to hunger. You weren't even close to honest about it. You were full of anxiety and pissiness, right? So you have to be...
I don't even know, am I supposed to be doing the hunger scale right now?
Well, of course, but what you're finding is that it's almost impossible when you have this strain around the weight gain. You're straining around the weight gain. The good news is you're not doing anything about it. So honestly, that's huge. That's a big deal. You should feel really good about that.
I can't physically, mentally, I'm that. When I say to you, I'm an all or nothing person.
No, you're not. That's a symptom. Just so that you know.
Okay. Well, I was so enthralled in the whole fitness industry and diet thing. Anorexia. Was my life.
Yeah, anorexia.
This falls apart. It's shit battered.
Yeah, you're burnt out of all the hard work and effort and the obsessiveness and the compulsiveness and it taking over your life. Yes, but you have to get burnt out of the anorexia. You have to get burnt out of being defined and identified by thinness or fatness or anything in between. You have to get burnt out of your weight and size being important. Do you really want your weight and size and your pant size to be something you have to think about every day, all day long? And do you really want something so ridiculous to affect you so intensely?
No.
So you have to accept everything that happens to it. And this is the hardest part. This is the hardest part. You're right here in the thick of the hardest part right now. And what I'm suggesting you do is go limp to it. Say, if this is what I have to do, I will wear sweats the rest of my life. And I will be so fucking grateful that I don't have a mental illness anymore. If all I have to do is wear sweats, that's like Christmas. Right? All you have to do is go get bigger pant size in order for you to not have this insanity. Who wouldn't do that? Who wouldn't take that exchange? I mean, think about it. Bigger pant size, complete darkness.
Yeah.
You have to willfully accept it as it's occurring. So I do have to say, I did go through that. The very first 24 hours was me feeling my body grow to close to 500 pounds. I literally felt it every time I ate. My whole body went into friggin' fight or flight with every single thing I ate. I felt like I was going to die, literally die of fatness the first meal I had.
You thought, oh my God, this is it.
I'm gonna die. I'm going to die. It felt like I was going to get murdered. I mean, behind the fatness was a sense of murder, right? So you could see why I was so impulsive around getting rid of that feeling. So to where it's in a...
But did you do the first week or two? Did you feel bloated and stuff?
No. No, I didn't, because I made such a dramatic and drastic choice instantaneously and to the worst case scenario of gaining 500 pounds almost instantly. You haven't done that yet. So you're taking a week to do it. You're taking steps.
You ate hunger almost instantly.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always that learning curve around it. But you keep on asking about what I did, but you need to know you and I are not even close to comparable. You're not even close to where I was.
Reading people's stories
when
about
I
recovery.
Did it.
It's like reading somebody's story about recovery. Or listening to the girls that you're counseling.
It does, but you're not doing what I did. So my results are not going to be what yours are. You're taking a longer time to do it. You're going to do it. You're going to do what I did. The moment you do it, you're going to go, why didn't I fucking do this a week ago? Just trust me. I lived another week of torture. Yeah. And it's almost worse because you're not doing anything about it. So you're like sitting there and like, do something, and you're not doing anything about it. So that's almost worse. So you've got to go into wholeheartedly choosing if the body is meant to be fat. I would rather, and it has to be wholehearted. So you haven't wholeheartedly done it yet. You've mentally done that. That's important. The mental decision to do it is important. Now you got to do it with your whole heart. You have to really go into the heart of your integrity and really ask if it means full and complete freedom from this bullshit. Am I truthfully willing to be overweight or whatever it is that I'm afraid of? You said 175 or under some. Are you truthfully, not idealistically, it has to be truthful from your heart. If the answer comes up as no, that's why you're having this strain and there's still issues with the hunger scale. So at least there'll be more sense in that, right? Some other clients I've had who have really struggled right here in this point. What we've done is we've said, okay, you're not willing to do it. So what we need to do then is to find a balance point between what you are willing to do in terms of dieting and managing and controlling to a realistic weight. You still have to focus on your weight. You still don't get the psychological freedom. You still have to worry about it. You still need to monitor your weight. You still need to obsess about your food. You still have to do that, but you need to find a realistic balance between your expectations with your weight and then what you're willing to do for it. Right now, you're like, I can't do anything. I don't want to do anything for it. Well, then you need to lower your expectations for your weight equally. They're not, I'm going to go back to what I wrote here when we first started. She's done dieting, but she's not done with thinnerness. You need these two to be equal.
See, and I don't like what I'm understanding, the second option. I don't even see it as an option, but the second option is to say, okay, I just want a realistic. I want a weight that I'd be comfortable with, and what sacrifice and what balance can I find to achieve that?
Yeah, I mean, so
Still take
this isn't
monitoring.
this isn't recovery. You got to know I'm not taking you to recovery. I'm taking you to continued dysfunction.
Right. And not just right there, just thinking, and I'm playing this out. I'm fast forwarding. The tape's going fast forward, and I'm going, okay, she's going to say, every Monday I'm going to weigh you, and you're going to do this, and I'm right then going, I'm not stepping on that. I want to cancel a doctor's appointment in 6 weeks because I'm not stepping on that scale.
Do you care? Do you care?
Well, at the point I am right now, I don't want to handle the number.
Okay, that means you still care. So this is where you got to be truthful, because you're getting the concept of it. You get it mentally. That does not work out in reality. What works out in reality is the truth, right? Where you're like, I can't handle weighing myself because if I see a number I don't like, I'm gonna go crazy. That's where you're at. That's the truth of where you're at.
But you want to know, Kate, something? If I get on the scale and I don't like the number I see, I still don't have the energy in me to go join another diet club or go to the gym. I'll get depressed.
Okay, so I'm going to read it again. She's done dieting, but she's not done with thin supremacy.
Yeah.
So you just confirmed it. I'm going to get depressed. Because, so you need to understand why.
I'd be depressed if I got a bad diagnosis from the doctor, not because the weight of a certain number.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, life is short.
Because what you said.
Over a number.
Well, yeah, I thought I didn't hear what you said. I just needed clarification.
Yeah. Like I'm thinking reality is there's, I'm here. Like I have life ahead of me, and I can be depressed over something like that. There's people that have real reason to be depressed. I kind of sound pathetic.
No, don't do that, because the truth is it is depressing for you, and that's how you feel inside, and you're shaming yourself right now for because there are people who actually have problems and you don't, but don't do that. That's how you actually feel. You're holding yourself to a body type that requires anorexia. So can you see in relation to that, you are disabled.
Yeah.
Just see the relativity in the disability. Yeah. You are psychologically disabled with a larger body. So your reaction to it is as if you're disabled. That's why you're seeing the distortion in that I don't really have these issues, but yet my response is if I do. Well, that's because the standard that you're holding your body to is that disabled from reality. So your reality feels then disabled. Does that make sense? So you're disabled in the fact that you're holding your body to a standard that requires anorexia.
Yeah.
So you have to look at that body image that you're holding on to, and you need to look at how disabling it is when you're in reality.
Yeah.
The standard you're holding yourself to is disabling. To reach it, you have to be disabled. Your whole life is disabled to reach it. So if you stop disabling your life, then the body is going to mimic and look like a real person. Because you're still mentally holding on to the disabled body, you are feeling bad about it or disabled emotionally. Am I confusing you?
No.
It's called relative deprivation. You feel relatively deprived in the body you're experiencing right now because you are holding this body to a standard that requires anorexia. You're no longer willing to be anorexic. So having a body that's getting bigger, I mean, you're not willing to do what it takes. The means to the end.
Then the part of my mind, I shouldn't even say this to you, but part of me going through the day thinking, okay, so I probably gained 10, 15 pounds, and if this is it, like, get over it, Ange, deal with it. This is what it's going to be like, and this is okay. Like, part of me saying, this is okay, but it better not go higher. Like,
yes.
You can't go here.
Okay, that's, you've probably heard me talk to that with people, where it's like, as soon as you say it better not go higher, you're now back to where you were before. Because that's what you said before.
I'm thinking, okay, like, I'd be cool with this. I'll be like, I'm feeling like I've never had rolls and I never feel my stomach, but I can live like this. Like, if this means happiness, if this means the life I'm living right now and I get to enjoy, then this is good. I'm okay with this.
Okay, well, if you have to maintain this, what do you have to keep on doing?
Okay, and this is what I asked myself today. I thought, how do I maintain this? Like,
how are you going to maintain it? Well, you got to monitor it. You got to make sure you're watching your weight. You got to make sure you're
right now. So why do I have to monitor it?
Well, because your weight might get higher than this. You got to monitor it. If you're putting conditions on the body, you still are focused on body image. So you're really not recovered. You just adjusted your problems to a higher weight. So I call this...
Yeah.
So here we are. You haven't really done... So remember when I was like, you're nowhere close to where I was. You're so far not there yet. You cannot expect to have my results. That instant recovery when you're nowhere close. You're still holding the body to a standard for you to feel comfortable with it. So you still get the problems. And what a good little lesson for you to learn today. Oh, I just adjusted my disorder to where I'm heavier and doing the same thing at a heavier weight. So at least I've relaxed, but I'm still focusing on food. I'm still focusing on my weight. I still have to monitor.
That's not true.
Yeah, it is. You're not telling the truth. You're the one who's not telling the truth. You're the one who's in denial. You still have to monitor your weight. You still have to be aware of what you're doing. There's still pressure on your food. It's just not as insane. It's still insane. It's just a different variety of insanity, right?
No way. I'm eating everything opposite of what I normally ate. I'm not monitoring anything.
Yeah, but you're still feeling like shit, and you're still feeling concerned. I can't wait for you to re-listen to this from the beginning. You still feel it's terrible. You're still worried about gaining more. So you're still there. You're still in that state of mind. You're nowhere close to out of it. You're getting closer, but you're still stuck in it. So this would be, you have to be willing to forever gain. Forever. I still to this day, forever, every day, I would rather be 500 pounds. I still feel that way. I'd rather have any physical ailment. I can handle the body in totally different forms because I'm not identified by it. So whether I'm graying, whether I wear these stupid rose glasses or not, none of it matters because I'm not identified by any of it. So I don't have to really hold on to any thoughts about it. I don't have to monitor it. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to be held hostage to it. You just made your cage bigger. It's still in a cage. It's just a little bigger. We could say there's benefit to that.
How?
Well, because you're not binging, for one.
But I wasn't binging for about the last year. I was doing more picking. I really had my binging.
Okay, whatever. You're just not as impulsive. It's less horrible. You're less shameful. You're less impulsive. It's bigger. The bigger the cage, okay, the more room you have, the less impulsiveness with food, the less, what's the word? You're not as perfectionistic. It doesn't have to be done perfectly, right?
Not measuring.
Yeah, so you could say those are the benefits, is that I don't have to be so strict. So that's the benefit of making your cage bigger. The downside is you're still in the cage. You're still in a cage. The opportunity for you to completely remove a cage exists. It's just a matter of you willfully choosing that you want freedom. You don't want this to define your life anymore.
I don't give a shit if I go up to 200 pounds.
Correct.
Whatever it is, it's going to fucking be it.
You got it. That's what I had to do.
That's how I feel at this moment. That's how I feel.
Okay, but hold on, because you've changed your mind now in this last 10 minutes. You said I could gain 10. You just changed your mind again. So you need to hear how you're just flipping around. Because just less than 10 minutes ago, you said, but I can't gain more than 10 to 15 pounds. I can't do it.
Yeah, but then you scared
then
me.
You're going
and
up
then
to
you got to monitor that. Then you got to monitor where you're at with
You do. So pause in this space. Just pause in this with me, and let's open this up. And I want you to observe if you truthfully are not willing to gain more weight than this, you are going to have to make sure you don't gain more weight than this. Correct?
Yeah.
So that means you do need to monitor. You do need to make sure that, and what happens is that fear of gaining more projects into how you relate to food, and food now becomes strained. So that's where I'm assuming your overeating came up today. You become more strict. So now the hunger scale, what I've seen in the past is people will do this with the hunger scale, and they'll be very, very strict with themselves. And they'll go, I have to be perfect. I have to be perfect with the hunger scale because I don't want to gain any weight. So I need to be, and often what I observed is that people would eat less than they should. And then they felt that feeling of being deprived came back. Even though, you're giving yourself food that you've demonized in the past, you're giving yourself all this lenience and grace, there's still fear of that food or fear you're going to eat too much of it, right? So it's like this, it's the same way of existing, and it comes back with leaner rules, but it's the same way of existing. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So now, even though you're allowing peanut butter, you are now in your mind having somewhat anxiety around it. Because if I eat too much
peanut butter, I'm eating peanut butter at every meal.
Yeah, I mean, that tells me a lot about not only what you're coming out of, but the fact that there is anxiety around the fact that I might be eating too much. I'm eating too much. I'm going to have to cut it out tomorrow. Well, then I'll just have a little more right now.
So you know what bugged me about having it? Is that I went into the pantry and I opened the jar in the pantry and I'm eating out of the jar. And that to me said, just go put it on a plate, sit down and have it.
Yeah,
that bugged me.
Welcome to your new variety of dieting. So you get the peanut butter, but you need to monitor it now. And there's probably anxiety with it because you can only have so much until it goes away, and then you end up having these issues. So this to me is like, you're on the path to recovery. You're on it. You just have to see this more clearly. You need to, because the thing that I think you're doing is you keep on thinking you're using me as an example, and you're using the idea that I shouldn't have these issues with the hunger scale. Well, that's assuming that you were completely recovered. You're not. You're kind of tiptoeing in. It's like zero entry water, right? You're tiptoeing in and you're getting comfortable, and then you stopped. And then you're going to tiptoe in until you, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
I lost you though at the point. Did I do wrong standing in the pantry, eating out of the jar?
No, to me that is not wrong at all. That's just an indication of a continuation of the same thing. To me it's like, oh, she's dieting. Oh, when I say dieting, that means she's afraid to gain weight. You're protecting thinnerness still, and that's conflicting with your relationship with food. So to me, that's not wrong. That's your inherent nature as an animal. Which you should feel bad for being an animal. What you're doing, however, is you're somehow triggering this primal need, and I guarantee it's because you're afraid to gain weight and you feel that you should be eating very much of it. So you're still allowing yourself to eat it, right? But I'm allowing myself, whereas before I wouldn't. Yes, that's progress, but you're restricting it within the allowance.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. Yeah, because when I'm making my sandwich, I'm mothering it on, but
in your mind you're thinking, I shouldn't be doing this, maybe I should be eating less, my butt's getting bigger, but then Robin says,
when I'm pantry being mindless, if I'm not seeing it on something, I'm just spooning out of the jar. That kind of got me. And then I'm reading, So I've been reading the Minnesota Starvation Method, and then I've been reading Portia's biography about Portia Allen's wife there.
Yeah, I totally know it. Yeah, I don't.
She went from 50 pounds to 170. And doesn't weigh herself and eats to hunger now.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the goal is that you're indifferent and don't care. Who knows if she still cares about it, she's still going to have her issues. But the key is that you just don't care. Once you don't care, literally, do not care. It's meaningless. It has no meaning in any direction, okay? Because a lot of people will say, well, I don't care. In fact, watch, I'm going to go overeat to prove that I'm cool with being overweight. Well, if you're doing that, that means you're really not, because you're trying to prove you're okay with it. And I've seen that too. You should be indifferent to all of it, to see that none of it really matters one way or the other, and that it's nothing for you to be in your mind, as if you're blind to it. When that happens, your relationship with food will be super relaxed. Like, well, it just loses all the pressure. The pressure gets released. Not because... No,
I bet you the appeal goes away.
Oh, totally. Because you can have peanut butter every day for the rest of your life, and all of a sudden you're like, it doesn't sound good. I've had enough. But I can have it any time. So it's there, but do I really need it now? Now. Or can I eat it when it sounds good to me at some later time? So there is no chasing the food. You're chasing the food right now.
But I think I've come so far, like as far as like right now in the house, I've got trays of butter tarts and chips and cookies and apples. I wouldn't eat apples before because they were so high. I mean, I got jars of apples, and I've got stuff in my house that jujubes and all this stuff that I'm not, because I know it's there and I can have it. I'm not. I just feel more normal than I ever did, I guess, as far as that goes.
Well,
like
for now, if you feel like I can't gain any more weight, all that food becomes threatening, and all those issues are going to come back in with food. And that would make sense, right? It's not like there's something wrong with that if that happens. Don't you agree? If someone, just put yourself in the witness or the observer's position. Let's imagine we're watching someone else, right? And they're like, okay, I'm okay gaining weight, but I can't gain more than this. Well, what do you expect is going to happen with her relationship with food at that point?
Well, because at that point, then she's going to look at it and she's going to go, fuck it, I'm going to go eat the box of jujubes, and tomorrow I'm going to start over. Correct,
because I'm going to try to maintain my weight now.
Right, but I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Well, you have to go into, if you're truly done, you have to go into the permanence of not having the thinner body. Give up what you got out of it. Surrender it. Do you really want what you got out of being thinner? Do you really want that? Because if you do, then you're not going to get rid of this.
No. You know what? I don't want it. Okay. Forget how I look right now. I didn't like how I felt today as far as stuffness goes.
Yeah, well then don't overeat. It's not that complicated. The problem that complicates it is if you are afraid to gain weight, that fear projects into all food.
But part of me, I don't feel like I've been overeating lately. I feel like I've been eating foods I'm not used to. Like I went out for Chinese food last night. I had 2 plates full. But today I just felt so stuffed that...
So it sounds like when someone says stuffed, you're like at an 8 or 9 on the fullness side of the scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you're overeating.
I hate this feeling.
Well, then don't eat that much. You're overeating.
Okay. Then part of me just thought, well, maybe it's just because my body's not used to having this food in it.
You're overeating. You could be still in your mind, I'll eat the whole sandwich. I'm going to eat this whole thing. You're eating, and you're not listening to the body. You have to listen to how your body's responding to the sandwich. If you eat 3/4 of the way through it and you're done, you should stop. Don't eat the whole goddamn sandwich. I don't like being stuffed either. There's nothing wrong with not like being stuffed. The problem is when you don't want to gain weight. Then you're going to have problems.
Yeah.
So you've got to be able to, one, tell yourself the truth. And that's sometimes hard to do. Not because you're choosing not to tell the truth. It's just stuffed down and repressed. Because the truth hurts, right? So you have to go into what hurts. I could gain weight. Well, yeah, there's a guarantee of that if you keep on overeating, for sure. But the overeating, you have to look at as a consequence of anxiety of gaining more weight. You woke up feeling like shit. You woke up not fitting into pants. How did you feel about not fitting into those pants? What's the truth? What's the truth if everybody could hear your thoughts and feelings? What was the truth about how you felt about not fitting into those pants?
It felt like a stuffed sausage.
Oh, so if you tell the truth, you were not okay with it.
Yeah, well, I was sad over it, but I wasn't.
That's the same thing. Just tell the truth. Sadness.
I'm not saying, I was okay with it. I'm telling you I had emotion over it.
Yeah, you were not okay with it. You weren't accepting of it. If you're sad, you're not accepting of it. It's not willful. If you're sad about it, that's a sign you're feeling sorry for yourself.
Are there any clients that you have that they put pants on and they don't fit and they're like, oh, okay, my pants don't fit?
Yes. Yes. When they're recovered. When they've accepted it ahead of time. Yes, that's what happens. But they do it ahead of time. That's the instructions I give. Not everybody does that, though. So the clients who don't, they get really upset about it. Because they were really hoping they wouldn't gain weight. They actually thought that if they were to eat to hunger, that they wouldn't gain weight. And so they gambled. And their gamble was not what came. So now they have to face what I told them to face originally. Right? So that's 100% what's happening here.
But I feel like if you eat to hunger, if when people are recovered and they know how to eat to hunger, your body's only going to be hungry for what it needs.
When it needs it, for the amount it needs. You're right. Yeah, but your emotions around it have to be gone. So the problem is if you're emotional about what's going on with the body and you have that position, like you're positioned with, it's like having a bias around what you want from the outcome. Okay, there's a bias there. You're not doing it. You're crossing your fingers and hoping to God you don't have to do what I'm asking you to do. And I tell everybody, you're going to gain weight. 100%. Don't even question it. You can play the game of, I hope I don't. I'm going to gamble.
Your clients gain weight doing it?
For the most part, yep. Especially in the beginning. For the most part, yeah. You know, some clients who are morbidly obese actually don't. But they're in a place where, to them, it's not a big risk because they're gaining weight all the time. You know, so they're in a different, they're at risk if they are aware they're losing weight. Because that brings in that, oh, I'm losing weight. So they get that gratification and that can create a binge right there. So you're in a different position, right? You are where you're at. And no matter what happens to anybody around me, your truth is the truth. It doesn't matter what anybody else's truth is. It doesn't matter what my truth was. It doesn't matter. Yours is what it is. And you're now learning that you need to recognize you mentally are aware that you are willing to gain weight, but you really were probably not thinking would happen, or you believed that it would stop at a certain amount, and that's the amount you're willing to gain, and that's where your recovery ends, right? You'd have to go and contemplate it and go, okay, where did this happen today? I had a terrible day. I feel like shit. I overate. I woke up and I was sad about my weight.
I was sad. I get bummed out when I mindlessly eat, when I'm not, like, I'm trying so hard to stay in tune with my body that actually tonight, I think part of the thing that went wrong, forget the part about being sad, because by this point I already put my sweatpants on. I was feeling uncomfortable, I think my stomach feels so big, and I'm trying to listen to my hunger, that when my hunger did kick in, it was too late. I was so hungry that I just started eating, grabbing things, because I think I waited too long.
Some people do that because they're afraid to gain weight. Some people do that because they're just figuring it out. You clearly have stress around all this. So that stress comes from a fear of gaining weight.
That stress. Oh, I get it.
Oh. Well, it should go, well, yeah, that's how I felt this morning. That's how I felt all day. You're going to re-listen to this, and you're going to go, I said it this time, and I said it that time, and I said it this time.
No, that's like saying you get up, and I should expect my pants not to fit, and just say, knock it off, put sweatpants on.
Who cares?
And I'm happy within myself. And if I'm happy within myself, I'm listening to myself. I'm listening to my body. I'm listening to my mind. And I'm embracing instead of fighting against it.
It's not even embracing. I wouldn't even recommend embrace. I would just recommend accept and move on. I don't want it to be a focus. It shouldn't be your focus. Like, who cares? Yeah, you're gaining weight. No, duh. You were living an anorexic lifestyle. Who cares? So you're not even, you see where I mean? It's like, yeah, of course, embrace it, but don't embrace it, because I don't want you to want your fatness. I want you to not give a shit about whatever happens.
Yeah.
You got to get to where you just don't care. You don't care if you stay thin. You don't care if you gain. You don't care if you lose. You just don't care. You don't want to think about it. You don't want to monitor it. You don't want to be defined by it. You don't want it to take another ounce of your time ever again.
You're right.
Once that happens, all of a sudden there's no pressure around food at all in any way. There's no, you got to do it this way. You got to do it right. There's no anxiety. There's no, I shouldn't be doing that. There's nothing. And so the choice to eat really then comes down to, are you hungry? Well, then eat. Listen to your body. Do you want to feel full like this? Well, then don't eat till you're full. Slow down. And it is true what you just said earlier. I do want to make sure that I acknowledge what you said earlier, which is so true, which is if I think I got too hungry and then I was just overeating, and then before you know it, I'm like, oh my God, I'm full. That's what happens when you wait too long. Because you're not chewing very well, you're shoving food in your mouth because you're like animal hunger kicks in. And then there's a lag time to that digestion. So even if you stopped eating and you felt sated at like a 5.5 or 6, 20 minutes later, because you ate so fast, it catches up to you and you end up with the lag at an 8, right? On that fullness side of the scale, which is full, uncomfortable.
When do you normally instruct your clients to start using the hunger scale?
As soon as they get over their weight. It's so hard to do it. It's almost impossible. I've literally monitored over 1,000 people do this, and I've never seen someone successfully and easily eat to hunger with so much emotion attached to being thin. I've never seen it work. It doesn't match. It's too laid back. It's too liberal. Eating to hunger is a very liberal approach, meant for people who aren't in survival mode, right? So when someone's in survival around, I have to be thin, or I can't gain weight, I have to stay this way, it's like they make it a weapon, and so they become really tense about the hunger scale. And so my first line of attack with clients is to focus on their emotional connections to body image that are triggering survival first.
Okay, what do you think What do you think causes in the back of my mind a lot of times is I'm thinking of food. If I'm not hungry, why am I thinking of food?
That has a lot to do with dieting and feeling deprived. Thinking of food is a sign that you have been deprived, feel deprived, or think you're going to be deprived. So if we look at the science of human behavior around food, Maslow's hierarchy of need, the first psychological need we have is to make sure we are secure with food. So if you have a symptom of I'm always thinking about food, that's a sign that you're not secure with food. To be secure with food, you need to, one, feel that you have enough to eat today. I have food today. I have food today. You need to feel that you can have more so that you have the ability to get more food. Okay? That it is safe to eat. This food is safe to eat. It's not going to kill me, right? If you look at the diet industry, can you see how they are directly impacting that survival need? The food is dangerous. That is dangerous food. It is fattening, bad for you, poisonous, toxic. They use all those words, right? Can you see how the diet industry has affected your animal survival mechanisms with food? Just in thinking that food is bad. I shouldn't be eating this. I should only have this much. If I eat more, that's bad, right? And not only that, but it's affecting the idea that I don't have enough. I can't get more, So when this symptom that you're describing, which is a symptom of your food psyche being insecure. Why would your food psychology be insecure?
I'm afraid.
Of what? Food. Yeah, it's like you've been brainwashed to think it's bad for you. You can't eat it. You're going to be fattening. So if you look at the relation to why it's bad for you or why it's usually connected to because it's going to be fattening. It's usually the case. It's fattening. And that fattening idea is where that's why your weight is connected to food. Make sense?
Yeah.
So that's...
I guess I thought further than I was.
Say that again?
I guess I thought I was further and recovered than I was.
Yeah, you just need to stay where you're at so that you're not constantly... Just stay where you're at. You are where you're at. Whether you think you're further along or you're not, you are where you're at. Right?
Yeah.
You're in the process of it. You're working through it. But, remember when you were like, but you didn't have those issues? That's because I recovered like that. Like, bam. You're not doing it that way. That's okay. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. I had suicide to push me into it. So not everybody is there. I have had clients who have been there. They literally came to me. They were preparing, planning, going to commit suicide. And it's that quick. So give yourself some grace to figure this out. You have to be aware of everything that's going into this. If you're afraid to gain weight, that fear projects into your relationship with food. That's where your issues with food are now insecure. So that primary animal need to feel safe with food is now being threatened. So you could say it's relaxed because you don't have to be as thin as you used to hold yourself to. But it's still...
I believe at the beginning of this, when I started it, like when I said that's it, and I went and had my peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I went out to lunch that day, I really did think, maybe I was fooling myself, but I really did think I didn't care if I gained weight. I was just going to eat to hunger. Like, I was going to do this. And...
Well, you were in the moment with that. It's just, are you really... number one, is it permanent? These are things people learn as they go, right? Am I really willing to gain this? Am I truthfully? And this is why it's so important you're really truthful with yourself and go into the cognitive dissonance of the work that we're doing. This isn't comfortable work.
No, it's not.
I know. And I'm on the side of I'm on the side that has to promote what's what's uncomfortable. And I got to shut things down and be like, because my goal is always to kind of position you towards recovery. And your goal is to not do that. It's to go towards what's comfortable, which is not what we're doing. Right?
Yeah.
What was I saying before? I wanted to finish my thought. I can't remember.
Just to be good with where I'm at. It's happening, but just not overnight. Like
you have.
Client, but it does, but I'm not one of those. Like,
I think
more like you.
Yeah, you're not there, and there's nothing wrong with that. There isn't. It's like, do you really have to be that miserable and close to suicide to recover? No, you don't. But what I found is when people aren't there is they kind of back into recovery. They don't face recovery and move forward. They back into it, and then they realize, oh shit, I gotta face this. Then they face it and move forward. You kind of backed in, and now you're facing it. Oh shit. This is real. This isn't some like exercise, some mental exercise. There's realness here. There's a physical experience I have to experience. I can't just pretend I'm not going to. There's a truthfulness that each client I work with gets to the point where they have to tell themselves the truth, or at least allow the truth to come up, right? Because sometimes you don't know what the truth is. You're just repressing it because it's painful, right?
Yeah.
So you got to allow it to come up, and that's uncomfortable. And that's essentially what I'm trying to get you to do. So when you rewatch this video, you're going to notice I'm really sharp. There's some sharpness to what I'm doing. It's because I'm trying to cut off the bullshit. And then you'll say one thing, and then you'll say a totally opposite thing. And my goal is to get you to see what you're doing, because you're so close to it right now. You're so close to it that you're not necessarily seeing it clearly. One of the other things I've also monitored and been able to observe and witness with people is that you have made adjustments. You've made huge improvements. Huge. Look at what you've already accomplished in such a short period of time. Right? The willingness to eat peanut butter, the willingness to shop all these foods, this ease and relaxation in social settings, right?
Yeah, and I'm loving it.
Oh yeah. And just go into just how miraculous that is, okay? That's a miracle. So that doesn't mean that you're completely recovered. It just means you're experiencing what recovery feels like. That should be drawing you in.
That's the only thing. That's what's sucking me in.
Yeah, is this the freedom. There is this ease. There is this connection. I can connect with people. I don't have to be this character that was miserable. The facade. I don't have to do that anymore. So as you go into these moments where you're kind of back into the craziness and the animal sketchy nature, I want you to observe how connected your position with your weight affects how you relate to food. How you relate to food is secondary. Secondary. So one of the things, this is, I think, what I was going to say. What you're doing is you're looking at the food as what we have to work on. The food is secondary. You got to go into the way you felt about your body this morning and how that impacted how you felt about food and the need to restrict to some degree. So a lot of people don't think, well, I'm allowing myself the food, so I'm not restricting. But in your mind, you might be saying, but I can only have this much. I can only have that much. That is dieting.
Okay.
So it's relative. So even though it's way more than you allowed before, you are still, in effect, restricting food.
Yeah.
It's just...
So should I get on the scale tomorrow morning just to give myself a shot?
Who cares? It doesn't matter. unless it does to you. If you need to weigh yourself, it doesn't matter. Is your weight going to change the work we're doing together?
No.
So then what's the point?
No, it might spiral me out. No.
Well, if it's going to spiral you out, then you need to go into it in your mind. Why avoid that? Go into it in your mind. Because you could be 10 pounds, 15 pounds heavier. Go into that reality and accept it as if it is real. Don't.
But just in my mind, pretend I'm at that weight.
No. You can pretend, sure, but you need to accept it, not pretend. Accept that throughout this process, the body is going to become what it really is. And I have to allow that to happen. So if the body goes up to 175 pounds, 180 pounds, and that's where the weight is that I can eat naturally, like natural, without shame, without guilt, without sketchiness, without worrying, without monitoring, without saying, I can't gain more than that. If that's where it is without me having to do shit, is that worth it? If that's the cost to have permanent freedom from this bullshit, to be given a second chance to live with the soul rather than a body, is it worth the cost of 180 pounds?
Yeah.
I know. So you go there in your heart. You said that with your mind. I need you to contemplate this on your own time. Am I truthfully, if that really happens, not pretend, if it means that I don't have to worry about my weight, I don't have to, I hope I don't gain. Because by hoping you don't gain, this did go through my mind before I made the choice to recovery. This did. The whole, and we talked about this in our last session. I realized that was going to go in circles. I still had to monitor my weight. I still had to worry about my weight. And I just couldn't do it in another second. So I literally had to look at the reality of gaining a ton of weight. Not because I wanted to binge, not because I wanted to overeat, not because I wanted an excuse to rely on food for every emotion, only because I just wanted to not care anymore. And I came to an awareness that I literally, if God said, Robin, your consequence here is going to be 500 pounds. I think I would have, I know I would have rather have been 500 pounds, because to me that would mean my mind was free. I might have been paralyzed physically, but I could be free. The soul was free to exist at that point. I had the perfect body and I was basically soulless. I had no life. I just had a thinner body. There was no point.
Yeah.
So
you said in your videos about being the mother of the bride or mother of the groom, and being fat, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I just didn't even think of those things.
Yes, see, these are the things you have to go into, the truth of the reality. I went through all of this in my mind, okay, because remember, I was under the pressure of a gun to my head. So I couldn't lie to myself anymore. So the problem when someone comes to me and they can lie to themselves, they don't even know they're lying to themselves. They're not facing the issues because they don't have pressure to face the issues until I put the pressure on, right? Face the issues. I mean, you paid me to do this for you. I'm going to do it. Just contemplate the truth of it. Don't allow yourself to hide behind your hopes and dreams. I hope I stay thin. Do you really want to hope to be thin? Because that hope is still keeping you in that space.
I think, you know what I think my fear is? Like, I totally understand what you're saying. Like, I get it mentally, like in my mind, but I don't get it in my heart, maybe there.
Yep.
But I think because since about grade 4, like realistically grade 4, I've been on a diet, I'm so afraid to just let me be me because I don't know what me is.
Well, at grade 4, that's where you people are at anyway. So you can either figure that out now or you can just go the rest of your life never figuring it out.
What do you mean? No, I mean grade 4 I was on a diet.
Yeah, it's been about since then that you've ever even felt authentic. You don't know who you are.
No, I meant my body side. Like
It doesn't. That's irrelevant information.
Right.
It doesn't even matter. If you want to recover, it's an irrelevant.
Because your body just has a natural whatever.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter. It's not who you are. It's not who you are. You are not whatever the body is. The body is what the body is. That's not who you are. You got to separate who I am from this body. Then the body becomes irrelevant. It's like it doesn't matter if I'm fat or thin or paraplegic or diseased. I'm the soul that exists, the essence. I'm the essence that exists from inside. You might not know what that essence is because you've been so fixated on the body, right? And that's common. People separate themselves from the body and they all of a sudden feel juvenile inside. Like, I feel like I'm a child. Well, yeah, because you kind of are. That was the last time you tended to the truth. You've been fake ever since then. Not intentionally.
Not fake.
It's fake. It's just not intentional. It's a facade. It's I'm going to do what they want me to do. It's everything but what's truthful from within. That's not a critical word. I'm not criticizing it. But it is fake.
No. Okay.
So the truth is the essence that has been there this whole time. You just have to get to know it.
Huh.
It's the essence. What is the essence? So that if you were in...
That I can't wait.
You can't wait for what?
To get to see who it is. Like, I'm just tired of I'm tired of the rat and the race.
Yeah, so you quit and you go, this isn't important. I need to figure out who I am. That has nothing to do with the body. Nothing. So if you were placed into a different body, would you feel different?
I think I know who I am. I think I totally know who I am. And I think I'm my own worst enemy. But I think I know what kind of person I am, and it doesn't matter what body I'm the same person.
Correct. That's the essence. You're the same essence.
Okay, I misunderstood what you're saying. I know that about me. If anything, my thin supremacy or me dieting to look a certain way took away from my essence. Because I couldn't allow myself to be social and couldn't allow myself to be genuine with the people closest to me.
No, because you're the facade. You're the fakeness. That's what that is. So the genuineness is irrelevant to the fakeness, and what we're trying to do is make the fakeness irrelevant to the truth of the inside.
Okay.
So whether you're fat, some fat, not fat, somewhere in between, it's just such a dumb detail. Who cares? The essence of who you are is what you bring to the table anyways.
Yeah.